Hello everybody, I'm Dio and welcome to the Diamond Factory here on the main street in our end-only city. Where in the previous episode we turned logs into charcoal, charcoal into coal into coal blocks, and coal blocks into diamonds, which we currently have too much of. We then went ahead and took some of that extra coal, made some black dye, and also made some grey dye to add 2 more colors to the dye shop, leaving us with a total of 1 missing dye. But in today's episode, we will be solving the dye problem by adding one final factory to this building right behind me, and it will be none other than a cocoa bean factory. So we can crush them down, get some brown dye, and finally complete the last dye we need in the dye shop. But before we jump into cocoa beans, we've got a problem. And the problem, well, it's me wasting diamonds. You see, I built the factory and I made a little bit of a mistake, and I think we've lost quite a lot of diamonds. So if we hop on into this factory right behind me, I'll quickly show you guys what's happening. If we run up here, we've got all of these processes running. These make diamonds, and then diamonds end up laying over there, which is a problem because if we can get up here, you see the belt doesn't go all the way to those little brass funnels, which means that the diamonds actually go and lay on top of these little cogs and then they despawn. So there are 2 things we can do. We can either increase see there it happens, we can increase the size of the drawers, which I don't really want to do, or we can rip out these 2 cogs and we can move these belts closer to the funnels. That way they'll flow out and they'll stop right in front. Or another thing we can do is we can put a threshold switch on the diamond storage drawer, get a signal, and then send a signal out to turn off the belts, which I guess will be over here somewhere. Let me just quickly see. Yeah, it's going to be over here somewhere. So we'll have to maybe put a gearbox over there, which we'll have to power from the bottom because we just picked up a trim. Yeah, a trim over there. Okay, cool. I think that's going to be easier. So let me quickly grab all the materials we're going to need. Well, I did have a little bit of a look around before I grabbed all the materials, and I noticed a secondary problem. You see, if we put a clutch over there, it's not going to just kill the diamond processing system, but it's going to stop this system as well, because we actually take power all the way from here, bringing it up, bringing it over, feeding into the presses, but then running over, feeding into this little system over here. So we can either separate it, or we should look at maybe moving those cogs, I think, which I don't know if it's a good idea because they might end up pushing through the wall over there, which again I don't think is a problem. We're literally gonna push them back a bit, which would be, let me just get up here, those 2 moving back, and we're going to add 2 additional ones. Okay, let's do that. We're going to rip out this and this. Yeah, we've got some dark prismarine in there. Let's grab that out. We're going to take out this and this. And then we're going to have to add 1 over there, 1 over here. I think I picked those up. And then let's just grab 2 more. Do we have more small ones? We do. 1, 2. There we go. We'll add 1 over there and there. Okay, those 2 work. And then can we take 2 belts? And if we do this and this, that should work. Okay, we just need to get out. Because now what happens is this whole system will then still continue to run. But as soon as we have a diamond over there, you can see the storage system is to full, so it's not going to pick it up. And I just need to check real quick. Oh, there goes 1. Let's quickly see. Yeah, it doesn't look like it seems to like they're getting picked up. Which is good. If I take that, Yeah, okay, cool. So this is working, which will solve a bunch of problems because we kind of ran out of wood, which is a problem. And then also I just want to see, yeah, there's one diamond stuck in there. I don't think it's a problem. I think it can stay in there. That's fine. But now we should actually get charcoal filling up, and we should get our logs getting all filled up again, because we, well, not me, I AFK'd and we lost a lot of logs. I can quickly show you. We're down to, I think, 0 in the system. Just run through here. Yeah, 13 and 14 logs of the 2 we're taking. So, oops. Anyway, I'm going to empty my inventory and then we'll look at building this little cocoa bean factory. And this is our blank canvas. So first things first, we need to figure out exactly where what will be. And to do that, I did bring a bunch of blocks along that should be sufficient in helping us mock out this area. So first of all, let's just see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Was that 9? Yeah, 9 across. So I'm thinking we should maybe give it a border so we won't have it all the way there. We'll have something like this, which is perfect, and it lines up well with the end of the window. We might not be able to use that row, but again, we can just have a little divide, and it doesn't really bother me too much. What I mean by divide, it can do this and the farm can continue at the top, which is perfect. Then on this area over here, we will have our our jungle logs, which if we can just do one like this, which is perfect. And then we need to have cocoa beans growing on this year window. I'm just thinking now, we actually don't have to have the divide because we're not going to have cocoa beans growing there. They're just going to grow on that level. So we're fine to not have a divide. Let me just fix that like so. Okay, perfect. So we'll have cocoa beans over here. And whenever this gets harvested, we need to be able to replant the cocoa beans, which will be from the back. So I need to just think, so if we do this, we can have these deployers receive cocoa beans and plant them on the block again, which will allow them to grow. And when they're ready to harvest, they'll harvest, and then this will plant again, which is simple. The difficult part comes to feeding items into each and every one of these deployers, because usually you can just feed them from the top using a chute, but because they're all compact like this, we're going to have to be clever about it, because we need to either give a mechanical arm that puts a cocoa bean into each and every one of these, or we're going to have to do every other row, I guess, which means we'll be able to feed into this one, but then we'll only be able to feed into that one again if we use the drain system. An additional thing we can do is we can move all of this back. So technically what we'll do is we'll rip this out, and we'll rip a bunch of these things out real quick, and gives us a blank canvas like this. So let's just do this again, and we can move all of this back to this back wall. And then let's just grab our jungle logs. We can have our jungle logs again filling this wall, cocoa beans on there. And then what we do is we'll just stop it maybe like here. So we'll have a smaller piece. And then over here, we'll do some form of harvester, which, do we have some harvester units? Got a plow. We've got a harvester. Let's just craft a few more harvesters like that. And we'll trigger them to run every 5 minutes or every 4 minutes or whatever. It can run constantly, it's not a problem, but I think if we trigger it, it might be a bit more lag efficient. But anyway, it will run over, it will stop over here, and we'll go all the way back and offload. Which honestly, I think might be the better way to do it. Because technically we can push this against this wall over here, so we'll score an additional row for cocoa beans right over here. So we can have more cocoa beans growing there, and we wouldn't have to have it every other line. So yeah, I think this is better. Yeah, I think this is better. So let me quickly see if I can add all of this to the wall. Okay, so we've got an entire wall in and it looks kind of impressive. Now, the next thing we need to do is add the harvesting system. So I was thinking we could just have the rails run on top of these bricks. And then I thought about it again, and I think we should actually rip out all of these and rip out these as well. And then what we're going to do is we can maybe do these like so. And then pick those up. And then we can actually go down one more. Oh, that's going to be a pain to harvest. Hopefully it's the only obsidian. It is. Okay, and then we can have the rest of these blocks at the bottom again like so. Let's just fill all of these back in like that. And that way we kind of have our rail system hidden. I'm just thinking now that we should maybe make the starting point of the system right over there, which by starting point I mean our little cart assembler. So if we do this, yeah, it's facing that way. Then we can do powered rails, and for the powered rails we're actually going to go down a bit like that. Oh, that's a different factory down there. So we'll just do that over there. Will I be able? No, I won't. Oh, it's our little storage line. Okay, let's just fly out. Okay, cool. And now we can place this block back down over there, and we need to do the same on the other side. Okay, this is going to be a little bit tougher. There we go. That's going to go there, that block there, and those are literally for our powered rails, because we're going to have powered rails running back and forth. We're going to have to just replace those two blocks just to make it look a little bit better. And the same goes on the side. We're going to speak through, but that's fine. Okay, let's quickly grab those two. We're going to need this, and that's just normal brick. Let's just do 4 brick. I'm not going to texturize it too much now. Something like that. And something like that. Okay, so that's perfect. Now, on top of this, we're going to have our harvesting system, which will literally just be something like this. And I know it's starting at this point. I guess we can take it back one. Yeah, maybe it will look better if it starts in the wall. So we have the actual minecart in the wall, this whole contraption. Okay, I'm quickly going to just move all of this back one, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, we moved it all back, and this is still in this position. That's just where it's going to start, but now whenever it runs, it will perfectly slot into this little space over here, which means you'll only see the harvesters peeking out. I don't know how often you're going to see it, because it will be constantly running back and forth. But before we put those things in, we need to think about where everything's going to go. For example, the offloading and all of those type of things. So first things first, I think what we're going to have is our little portable interface in this position pointing that way, which means when it reaches this point, it needs to interface with another portable interface in this position. And from here, what we'll have to do is we'll have to maybe go down quite a few blocks, and we can grab ourselves little we're gonna need a chute. Maybe we should use a small chute, because it's gonna have to take a lot out of it, and I do think we can just pull directly from it. And then from there we can go into a slave unit like so. I actually think we can go up one. Well, I don't think so. I know we need to go up one, so we'll do that over there. And then we can just hop on over here, and we can just connect it with trims, I guess just up. Or we can go straight across, which either way is fine, I guess. It'll just run over there, straight to that side, which I think is maybe the better one. So let's just quickly grab a bunch of trims, and oh, it's horrible. I'm using all different types of trims, but we can do something like that, and that should be it. This should be connected to the entire system, so we can technically close this back up, and now that's sorted as well. So we've got our little deposit system or whatever you want to call it. And we can now look at the actual harvesting, which will literally be, let me just make sure. Yeah, this. So we'll just continue going up, harvester up, and we'll do a harvester just like that all the way until we reach the top, which shouldn't be too far. Can I just do quite a few at a time? Let's just do this, like that. Perfect. And we can grab ourselves some glue. And I guess we can rip that out. And we can just go ahead and glue all of those together to there. And then that one to there. And that should be the entire system. If we now power this, this should work. Oh, it won't work because I don't have a minecart. Okay, cool. Minecart. That was an idiot move. Okay, don't have a minecart over there. Do I have one over here? Can't be bothered to look for it now. Let's do that. Put down our minecart. And then can we bump it? We were able to bump it. There we go. That's awesome. And it stops for a little bit because that's when it actually tries and deposits the cocoa beans. So this should be functioning, I guess. And the only way we would know is if we go find some cocoa beans to plant. And I don't think I have a lot. I think we might have about maybe 30. I did grow a little bit in the past. That's melons. 10. Okay, not 30. We've got 10. We've got a total of 10 cocoa beans. I guess it's fine. It's gonna take a while. We can bone meal them. That's also a thing. But we can just go ahead and do that. So it's 6 per line. And do we have bone meal? We do have bone meal. Oh, that might be a little bit of a problem. Okay. That's fine. We just need to unpower this. We don't have a storage drawer or something to keep the items while it's not... Well, when it harvests. So when it harvests, it needs to keep the items. Otherwise, like you can see, it just drops them on the ground. Okay, I'm going to sort that, quickly get a little temporary storage drawer in the dye factory, and then I'll bring you guys right back. Okay, so we've got a little cocoa bean storage in here, and we've got a total of 39 new cocoa beans, which is perfect because we can actually use these to plant a bunch more to try and get this wall filled up. But as you can see, I literally paused, I went to made a drawer, I fixed the little problem, and we got all these cocoa beans. So it is quite a fast system. So I'm not too worried about the size and the scale of it, which is actually perfect. So we can plant these, and then we can head on over to the dye factory and add the second part of this farm, which is actually why we built it, and that is making the brown dye. This is looking pretty epic, and like you can see, it is successful. And it's actually so very simple. So I'm happy with that, which now allows us to tackle the last thing on our list, and that is making brown dye. So right over here, like you saw earlier, is where I have the cocoa beans. We've got about 48 in there, and we need to set up the system. So first of all, we're going to have ourselves another link to the storage system. We're going to do our smart chute with our millstone on top. And then from this, we can just extract our cocoa beans. It should end up just laying over here. Yeah, it does. So if we grab those two and we run down here, where, by the way, I removed all the upgrades. They all only contain 2048. Oh, I nearly didn't do brown, but there you can see we've got some brown dye coming into the system. Sorry, I was just making sure about the upgrades. But now we've got brown dye coming into the system, which I'm pretty happy about, and it will slowly fill up over time. Like you can see, we're already empty. There's nothing there, but it should fill up at quite a good speed. I'm not sure how many brown dye we're going to need, but I'm happy to have it in this little system. We might just replace that with a stair block as well now, and then we'll maybe just replace those two stairs as well. And then I remembered I removed this to take a little screenshot, and I never replaced it. So because I still thought it looked pretty cool. But there we go. We've got our little pole back. Just gonna add stairs there, and then I think it's gonna be it. I know it's a bit of a shorter episode, but I am so cramped with work and stuff, so I rather give you guys something small and it contributes to the city than me not doing anything. So yeah, while I fix the building behind me, let's quickly jump on over to the population counter and see if the population of the city grew in the past week. We're currently standing on 10,797 citizens, which means we grew the population by a total of 23 new subscribers. If you want to contribute to the population counter, then do smash that subscribe button and help us reach our next big goal. And just like that, we're at the end of our mini-sode. But it was a productive one indeed. We managed to finish up the dye shop by building this here cocoa bean farm, and I really do like the way it looks. I was considering adding a second lane to it, but we're never gonna need more than one chest full of brown dye, so I don't think it's necessary. We might look into adding a second farm to this in the future, but that will all have to wait. But till then, I would like to say thank you for watching. Do consider leaving a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and smash that subscribe button if you have not done so yet, as it really helps me out a lot. Till next time, bye for now.